All right, well, hopefully this is the next to final episode of F this column and this EPAS install. It has been a bit of a struggle, but thanks to a call from buddy again today, saved me once more. I'll show you what I ended up having to do to fix my issue from earlier. But it ended up being something simple that I just wasn't thinking, and after talking to him, I was like, duh. But anyways, so this is what it looks like from sitting in it. Obviously, the top part of the column's not there and the wheel's not there. It's still on my old column here, which it's a shame how pretty this powder coat came out that I'm getting rid of it, but I want to try this EPAS. And since this is a stainless column, like I said before, I'd like to leave it stainless. I like the brushed stainless look. Now, granted, this sleeve right here, this beveled section, which I don't really like the way it connects. I would have actually looked into welding it to the column and getting rid of the way it connects, but this is aluminum, I'm almost certain. I'm pretty sure, just judging by the texture and the grain difference, this is aluminum. So I can't do anything with it. But anyways, I can get measurements later for what it took to do this, and it may vary. I mean, just about everything on this can adjust to your liking. Mine ends up coming to right pretty snug to the column, or to the dash, I mean. There's not much gap here. I left a little bitty bit there. This playroom. And this mount is I think it's a Mustang Stafir billet column mount. So the downside of this is the thickness of it, or how wide it is, and it's only held by these two bolts. Right now, it's the only thing holding this heavy electric motor. And since I don't have the wide band factory style clamp to hold this in, I'll be fabricating another little bracket. There's several bolts. I think there's one down here, which, yeah, right there, that one obviously won't be used, but there's another one on the back side somewhere. But those were the original, like, Nissan Versa mounts that they mounted this motor under the dash, but that will help support the weight from it bouncing around and risk breaking. Because right now the only thing holding it is, this, and it, with the weight being on the back and having leverage and these only two bolts, it's going to end up flexing because there's no bottom bracket to support it really. It's going to be a U joint going to this motor, and it's loose. It's not snugged up, so it's wanting to turn. But that's roughly how it's going to sit clocked. So it's kind of tucked away. My pedals still function. Granted, it's, like I said, it's not tightened, so it's wanting to rotate. But yeah, my pedals still function fine. It's out of the way. I'll have to figure out something to do with that air box right there. I want to keep my air duct because my cowls aren't sealed, or my cowl's not sealed off, and I like having this fresh air vent for my legs. I like to drive windows down a lot in this car. So with that, I don't want to run the AC motor or the blower motor to get fresh air in the cabin other than my windows. I like having that fresh air coming in on my feet, my legs. Down here in Mississippi we get a lot of humid heat. The car will be getting AC, so when it's miserable hot I'll be running that. But if it's nice out, like I said, I like to roll windows down, and that extra air vent on my legs is nice. So I'd like to keep it. It also allows air to flow through that cowl and dry out any kind of moisture that's in the cowl. So I'll figure out a way to get that to fit again, because right now let's see if I can get this light. It's pretty snug under there. There we go. This light doesn't want to work all the time, but yeah. I'll have to trim it back and see if I can get any way to make it happen. If not, I'll have to make a block off plate and just seal that off, because as nice as it'd be getting that fresh air during the summer, in the winter that shit'd be cold. So this car will be being driven in the winter, of course, too, and whatnot. So the only time it won't be out and about is nasty, wet, rainy, stormy weather. But yeah, overall, I'm pleased with how this turned out. It's not welded all the way. This bottom collar right here is just tacked. It needs to be welded. The inner joint, which I'll show you in a sec what I had to do, that's just tacked. It's not welded. So this is just pre-fit, just seeing how it looks. I still have to run all the wiring and everything, so I've got a good bit left to do still until this is drivable again. I'm also waiting on another pillow bearing
pillow flange bearing to go on the firewall for the
intermediate shaft to pass through. The 15/16 one I got is just barely too small, so apparently the 1 inch is the one I needed. So I'd actually ordered a 1 inch, and the eBay seller canceled my order and didn't email me any reason other than I had to go back into eBay and look, but apparently it was lost. My guess is he sold too many. I already listed it for the wrong price and didn't want to sell it for that. But anyways, it's like 8 o'clock tonight. I'm done messing with this. I'll come up tomorrow and finish welding everything, reassemble it all, and bolt it up and make it permanent, and I'll fabricate the little bracket and maybe start running the wiring if it's not too late. I am going to rotate this back around so it's not holding all the weight, let my pedal support it. By the way, this is a pain in the butt to try to mount by yourself, because I think the original collar mount had what are they called, retained nuts, or I'm blanking on the term, not recessed, but captured. They had captured nuts that would slide around, and so you could adjust the column a little bit. I got rid of all of that, and I knocked off the retained piece because it used like little square nuts, and mine were rusted out and the threads were stripped and whatnot, so I had to take them out. Anyways, I have a regular nut on top, so I have to hold that nut and like spin it on while holding this bolt in, while supporting the weight of this column. That's weird, because used to I could stab it through the bottom hole and then just hold this one end and the bottom would support that end. But yeah, it's not easy to do by yourself. So that's done. What I had to do, let me turn this down a little bit so you can hear me. So the column inner shaft, when I got it, it was double D, which is this, and slipped in, this is 3/4 double D, slipped into 1 inch double D. So essentially what I did, instead of welding the double D shaft straight onto that splined shaft, that spline sleeve or whatever that mated with the EPAS splined shaft, I cut that back off, and this is just the shortened piece to cut off. But anyways, I ended up cutting about a 3-inch piece of this and welded it onto that shaft, the spline sleeve that goes to the EPAS motor. And then I took the column shaft that has the tilt piece and slipped it in. Oh, let me get to the side that's doesn't have a piece. But anyways, use this as a coupler more or less, to where it could slip in, and there's a hole drilled on the underside of the column where I can access. I haven't done it yet, but I've got the drill and tap here. I'm gonna tap it for this. I was gonna go pick up an Allen head or a socket set screw, but I figured why not just use what I have. I have these button head Allens. I just made the hole a little bit bigger with a 3/8 bolt, and I'm gonna pop a plug in it when I'm done. But I'm gonna drill and tap. I drilled a hole through the outer shaft. I'm gonna tap, I think, this big shaft, so the thread actually runs into this, but it'll pass all the way through and thread into this piece, because this is probably enough thread, or enough to tap into, but I'd feel a whole lot better if it's tapped into this big piece, although it's gonna be fun tapping that thick of something, so hopefully it's not a problem. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna end up doing. But I'll center punch the hole that I got so it's the right depth set, and then I'll run the screw in, and that'll lock the column into the lower shaft. But yeah, that's all it ended up taking, because this will pass through that tight sleeve section that big piece wouldn't. But anyways, let's see if there's anything else I missed that I needed to touch on. Pretty much what I ended up cutting at was, for the length, was right at the wire sleeve. This was actually, the top of the column was to the left. It was like this first, so it retained this wire piece, and it ended up sticking out a little bit further than I wanted. So I went back and cut it back even with this, the back side of this wire feed, and that ended up, giving it that stick out right there. Because I can always add a spacer later if I want to put the steering wheel further out if I need to. You can't feed it back that way though. However, the exhaust sleeve that's in there, the nice thing about that is right now it's sleeved all the way down. if it ended up being up against the dash when I'm test fit it just now, I could cut those tacks and back it off just a little bit and then re-weld it and it'd be fine, because that exhaust flange got, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches worth of sleeve fit. So you got probably an inch to play with there. That way it still has enough to sleeve into and weld. So yeah, like I said, I'll pull it out, I'll finish welding it, reassemble everything, put this back on, reassemble this part, get the blinker and, you know, horn assembly, all this wiring assembly back in. I did cut this intermediate shaft. It has a, I think I showed it in the previous video, it had a little dimple down here that you have to cut to be able to separate these two. So I don't know if I'm actually going to come back and set screw this in, or if it even needs to be, because it sleeves in a good ways. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe let me know if you think I should or not. I really don't understand why you need to on stuff like that, but maybe. But anyways, I can do that later if I want to, because like I said, this part right here, this larger piece is what feeds through the firewall. So I can always come down and drill a hole and tap it and run a set screw into it. But yeah, that's the piece that'll run to the rack. It'll go this through the firewall, then I'll sleeve this back in, then this goes double D to the existing double D shaft I have, go into the rack. All right. And I think that's everything. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any questions or want any more info, like I said, I took some measurements, I can get some more, but it's mainly gonna be fit and make your own measurements as you go, because everything, there could be variances everywhere, and unless you're running the exact same column, exact same EPAS motor from whatever year's Versa, there might be differences. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and maybe next video I'll have a test video of it actually working and you'll get to see functionality. Alright guys, later.